Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm Recommend and welcome back to the channel. Hello guys, hello. And today we're going to be talking about the Tototek Neo Geo adapters. So as you can see, if I zoom out a little bit, let's see, well, I zoomed in, let's zoom out. So you can see way over there, I have a Neo Geo CD. Now, as you see, there's a Neo Geo controller here. Now, the reason that it's there and not where I'm sitting at way on this side of the screen with you guys, the reason that it's there is because that's as far as it goes. The controller cord is about as long as, well, I'm not gonna say it's as bad as a Nintendo Classic or Nintendo Mini Classic Edition, but it's about 5 feet. Now, for today's living rooms and living room setups, that's woefully inadequate. No one's gonna sit 5 feet, 2 feet, 4 feet, or even 3 feet, you know what I mean, from a 42, 52, 55, 60 inch TV. Everybody wants to sit, usually about at least 8 feet away. This is not gonna do it. And, as far as I know, there's no wireless controllers for this console. So I did the next best thing. I went on Tototech and I bought an extension cord for the Neo Geo controllers. It's about $8. Yeah, $7-8. It was pretty cheap. As you see, here's the pins. This is a 6-foot extension controller, and as you'll see, here's another controller right here. Look, I can go much further out with this controller. So here it is in front of you guys. Look at this. I'm still pulling on the cord. And this is far more comfortable in my living room. I can play comfortably from my couch now with this controller because of the extension cable. Now, messing around with the cable itself, I will say that when you do plug it in, it doesn't require any extreme amount of force. They did a pretty good job in making it fit pretty perfectly, pretty flush with the controller port. Sometimes you get these type of controller ports, these type of adapters, and they don't, they can damage the controller ports because they're really hard to push in or pull out. They actually did a pretty good job with this. It's very easy. You literally just, snap, you literally just take the controller, push it in, and bam, there you go. You have an instant super long cord, which is great. So I ended up buying 2 of these. As you see, there's one there, already connected, and then there's the other one that I have for my hands. But this is not all we're going to be talking about. Oh, actually, before I even move to the next thing, just to let you guys know, playing with the extension cord, there is no additional lag, nothing at all. I literally had 2 controllers next to each other, pressing the button, all that good stuff, and there was no lag. It was exactly the same timing. So that's a great thing. So it's cheap, gives you super long reach, and there's no lag. So win-win. Of course, you just have to deal with a cord, but sometimes you gotta deal with it. Unless, and that's actually the next thing I want to talk about with you guys. You buy something like the Neo Geo Joypad Converter. This is the version Neo, whatever that means. There's apparently 2 versions. There's actually a version 1 and version 2. I have no idea what version this is because it says version 1, version 2. This one says Neo, so they're basically the same thing for what I see. One just gives you sustained automatic fire, while the other one is manual. This one seems to be manual, although I still have to play around with it some more to see if it's the newer version. But honestly, I don't care about sustained auto fire if I can do it manually. It's fine with me. So what this does is it lets you connect your PlayStation 2 controllers and even the PlayStation 1 controllers in most cases to your Neo Geo, which again is over there. And it gives it, the cord itself on this is not very long. It's only about 3 feet. So this really is like the NES Classic in terms of the length of the cord. But these old Sony controllers are pretty, do have fairly long cords as well. So as you see, I'm pulling that cord and it's pretty long. It's very easy to set up. Pop it in and plug in obviously the other end into your console over there, and you're pretty much good to go. Now, in testing this, I also did not get any lag in comparison to just using it with the regular controller with the extension cord. Now, normally, scientifically, you can go in and do a whole bunch of mathematical calculations and all that good stuff. And technically, whenever you put an adapter in, it does create a minimal amount of lag. Now, how much lag you're talking about could be in the milliseconds. It's usually when it's analog, it's barely noticeable. So that's the case with this adapter, and it works very well. The only thing now that I will say is, if you look at the controller layout here, you see how A, B, C, and D are set out. They're set up in a certain way. It changes the layout to something different for the PlayStation Control. For the PlayStation Control, it does set it into a way that I think is more comfortable for most PlayStation and maybe Xbox and even SNES Super Nintendo users. And what do I mean by that? Well, luckily for you guys, I brought out some of my artistic skills, and you get this layout. So you have your A, B, C, and D buttons laid out in a completely different way. Let me see if I can get these both together on the same camera angle. So here's A, B, C, and D. And here's A, B, C, and D. So you guys can see for yourself what the layout is. In general, I think most people will prefer the PlayStation layout. But honestly, a lot of the games do have ways to manually change your controls and your buttons. So if that's the case, it doesn't really matter. But depending on the game, I can either prefer the original way or this way. It honestly depends on the game, because not every game had the same button layout. But I noticed for a lot of the arcade games, actually this works a lot better. It works as expected, similar to a Super Nintendo or a PlayStation layout. Like for example, usually your shoot is here and your jump is here. So it's more comfortable to play like this. Shoot, 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 jump, 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 special, special, special. Versus this, where you're doing shoot, 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 jump, 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 special, special, special. It's not always the best layout. Again, depending on the game, you can change your controls. When it comes to fighting games are all over the place, so chances are you're going to need to change your controls no matter what, but it's just an option. Now, the real reason that I bought this adapter wasn't to play with this. Not at all. I bought it to play with this. And I was hoping that it would work. So this is my Logitech wireless controller. And it obviously comes with a receiver for the PS2. So I go ahead and plug it in. And now I have a wireless controller for the Neo Geo CD. Or if you had a regular Neo Geo. Now it works actually pretty well. There is a very minimal amount of lag from the wireless connection, obviously. For me, I was able to feel it. So for fighting games, it's a little iffy, but for other action games or even puzzle games, it's perfectly fine. You can adjust to it. Of course, your mileage may vary. It depends on you as a person. Some people experience lag, even a lot of lag, and adjust to it and have no problems with it. It's not noticeable to them. Other people notice even the most minimal amount of lag. So this has a tiny bit amount of lag, and I honestly think it's more because of the travel of the buttons in this controller versus this. Because when I actually did them together at the same time, very carefully, I didn't really experience lag. But if I just pressed, just wow, loosey-goosey crazy, I did notice that there seemed to be a little bit of extra lag, but it was because it was taking the travel on this was taking me longer to finish pressing the button as compared to the flatness of this. And if you see, take a look here, there's slightly more travel on the Logitech controller. but you do have an awesome D-pad on this thing, and of course it's wireless. And of course the awesome thing about this adapter as well is that not only do you have the turbo, so you can use these buttons here to set up your turbo and even your slow motion, but it lets you use the analog control. So if you don't want to use a D-pad or something, you can use the analog control. For those of you guys who are a lot more comfortable using this, and it's actually a great thing. So it's actually a great buy. So this is actually 20 bucks plus shipping. I don't know what shipping is for you, obviously. We don't all live in the same place, but shipping was reasonable. I ended up buying this plus the 2 extension cables for the Neo Geo CD, shipped, I believe it was all the way from China, and it came out to about 50 bucks altogether, for everything shipped and all the items together. So actually it wasn't bad, and definitely worth it for me. So you guys, this is again the Tototek Neo Geo Joypad Converter 2, and the extension cables, they work very well. If you have a Logitech controller, it works great with this. Actually, before I go, I do have another wireless controller for the PlayStation, and this is the Pelican wireless controller, which actually is very comfortable. It's actually good for smaller hands as compared to the Logitech controller. Very comfortable, actually works well, but does not work well with this Joypad converter. So if you have this controller, I highly suggest that you look for a Logitech, because while it does technically start to work with it, it doesn't work correctly with the adapter. So just keep that in mind. And actually what it ends up doing is, for some reason, there's a huge amount of lag when using this controller with that adapter. While with the Logitech, there's very minimal lag, and like I said, it may even be because of the button travel comparisons. But the Pelican controller does not work very well with this adapter. Now that's not a knock on Pelican, because I've noticed with these 2 controllers, depending on what adapter I use, either or can actually work. It's kind of funny like that. If I remember correctly, with my Dreamcast adapters, this works fine, but this one doesn't. So it's kind of a toss-up. It's always good to have options, but just something to keep in mind. Now there may be different variations to these 2 controllers. I've seen different variations of this one for sure that may work slightly differently, but just giving you guys the heads up on that. So hopefully this video will help you guys out. Again, the Tototek Neo Geo Joypad Converter version 2, or the Neo as what I have, gives you end-up extension cable, which gives you much longer range. I hope you enjoyed this video, and of course feel free to subscribe, hit me with a thumbs up, hit the bell if you can, and I'll see you guys next video.